Well, there. Good evening, my good friends, ladies and gentlemen. This is John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur here, coming at you tonight. We're in the middle of a series, and for those of you that are new, well, welcome, friends. Every single night, we have a episode that we stream live, and it has to do with a topic for the week. And this topic for the week is, what gift will you share with the world? We're talking about gifts. If you are coming back to my channel, well, welcome back. It's great to have loyal subscribers back on the channel. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already subscribed to my great community here on many different places, including LinkedIn, scan the QR code, take a look at my link tree, and explore some of the great stuff that I produce every single day. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about gifts, and I'd like you to go ahead and show me some love. That could be a like, it could be a support, it could be an insight mark, it could be something else, depending on what platform you're on. John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur's profile page, a Facebook page, LinkedIn page, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur's YouTube page, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur's Twitter, Twitch, or Periscope page. And so we are talking about gifts. Have you figured out what your gift is? If you have, or if you haven't, take a moment and just comment below. When you do that, I think you're going to realize that, like we said yesterday, we talked about coffee, and that coffee has all these different attributes. So you have attributes. I don't know if you know this, but these attributes are what make you unique every single day. That's right. Every single day. And so when we talk about a gift, we're talking about something that you were given by your creator, something that is going to make you different than other people, something that you have a creative spark with. Okay. Doesn't mean that you're an artist, but we're all artists in our own way, right? Doesn't mean we have to use pencil and draw on a piece of paper, or oil, or other types of paints to paint. No. Or if we're a carpenter that uses tools to craft what we want. When we think about a craft, right? Craft is something that we do, but you need to have skills to do a craft. I remember many years ago, we have a store. I'm not sure if it's still around anymore. You probably know Michael's, but there was a store that was around. This is probably a while ago, probably a long time ago, and it was actually called Lee Ward's. Okay, Lee Ward's Crafts. Okay, so is Lee Ward's still in business? Well, Lee Ward's actually ended a long, long time ago. This was right around, I don't remember what year it was. What year did Lee Ward's go out of business? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember because, again, it was a long, long time ago. And so what actually happened is, so Lee Ward's was a different type of store than your Michael's, but it was founded in Illinois in the 1940s, and it was actually purchased by Michael's, and it immediately ceased operations. So it's missed by a lot of people. You could go into Lee Ward's and you could really take your own skills and exemplify them into what we call a project. I remember one of the very first projects I did with a friend of mine was we went to Lee Ward's, and we bought some wallets. And then we went back to his house. We had lunch, and we were basically stitching up the wallets, which was kind of fun. I remember another big pastime for me at Lee Ward's is my grandmother, rest her soul, and grandfather. It was just on my uh, dad's side. They would, heat up the oven, and they would put metal, aluminum foil, and then we would take the tray out, and we would basically put this little um, metal shaped ornament or object. And the thing about it is that it had all open spaces in it. So it was just kind of like the grid of the ornament. And so then what you did is you were able to take these different beads and then they melted inside the oven and it made stained glass. So you can still buy stained glass today. I'm not sure if you've ever done that before. Stained glass projects, if you ever done that. So stained glass kits, you can buy them at Walmart. You can buy them, I believe, at Michael's, and they're not really that expensive. You can actually buy these different types of ornaments, and so you can make all kinds of neat things. And so when you think about just this for stained glass, so this was a lot of fun because we would buy like they call them sun charmers. And so, like, for example, you could buy a rainbow sun catcher, just to give you some example. And what you had to do is you had to figure out, what you needed first. So this is great because the kids could be 4 and up. You didn't want people younger than 4 because obviously there were things in there, then they could swallow it, and that probably would not be a very, very, very good thing. So in order to make a sun catcher, which is a rainbow sun catcher, you're going to need some classic poster markers. Okay, that's one thing, and then they say to get some washable paints. Now, this is the one way that they do it, but what I'm looking to do is something different, which is what we call baking. It's like baking stained glass, right? So it's like baking. I don't know if you ever remember that. And so the way this worked was kind of cool. And I'm trying to think if they still do it or not, because there might have been some safety concerns. But it was like baking your own, um, you know, glass, um, what do you want to call it? Ornament, um, you know. And so this is interesting because, you know, you can actually get all kinds of different things and you can make your own stained glass. So you can make your own stained glass. Um, basically you start with you obviously can dye things, but the easiest way to do it is to find these different glass pebbles. And so, you basically take these pebbles, if you will, and so you put them in the actual stained glass, what do I call it? Like the little metal structure. Okay. So they were basically called like stained glass. I guess you want to call them pebbles or something like that for projects. And so you'd put all these things in there. And once you did that, you put it in the oven for maybe it was, I think it might have been 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And it would literally melt the stained glass. And so when it was all done, guess what happened? You'd be able to take it out. And now you would have a perfectly made stained glass ornament or door sun catcher, whatever you have. And you had to let it cool because it was really, really hot. That's important. It was really hot, and had a lot of fun with making these. So this was a gift. Now, what it cost to buy these things, $5, $6. But my friend and I, we actually we did making wallets. Okay. And it was pretty cool. And so we got to explore our own gift and then gave it to a family member, right? That was actually, pretty cool. And then, there's something what they call, like, you can get different levels of stained glass. You can get smaller pieces, you can get bigger pieces, but when you make like a stained glass, like the advanced stained glass kit, um, it requires some work. Okay. Basically, you need to have the metal pieces. This one they recommend for 13 and up, and they recommend that you have a wax piece of paper. And they're doing it a little bit differently now than the way they used to do it. And then you'd have your craft tray, your wax pieces, your stylus, your printed canvas. But that's a little different than the way we used to make stained glass. Okay. The way we did it was we had these glass pebbles, and you'd put the glass pebbles in. So again, it was making stained glass, and I did this a lot with my grandparents. One thing that my mom's, excuse me, my dad's mom always did is they would come down to our shore house, and when I was a lot younger, I would go see them in the morning, and they would always have some type of a project for me. It could have been one of these Mad Libs. It could have been a book where you scratch off the thing, and it was always, and it wasn't anything really expensive, but it was just the fact that my grandmother took time to make sure that I had something that was fun. And it might have only cost them $5 or $6, but I spent hours on it. Or maybe it was like a Mad Lib where you basically answer these, you fill out, well, I need a this, I need a that, I need a verb, and then you read it back. And it's kind of funny, what I'm saying? It's really funny. So when we think about our life and we think about all these things, the important thing to realize is that you have so many gifts in your life. Okay. But a lot of people won't want to do stained glass or go to your store and make these type of things. Why? I think it's because they don't want to put the time into it. Okay. They don't want to put the time into it. And they feel that, it might be something that's going to be a waste of time, but it really isn't. And so I remember they would have all these different colors, and I think they discontinued that whole process for how we made stained glass. I think that whole thing is like defunct. I don't think you even can do that anymore. But it was a lot of fun, and so I got to discover one of my gifts, and that gift was that I was creative. Another time, my grandmother had, well, she called them Sputniks, but we went to Lee Ward's, and we got these styrofoam balls. And a lot of times she would have the stuff, and she'd have the project. She'd always have a project. And it was fun. So I always like to go to grandma's house to stay or to visit because grandma always had a project. So we'd have dinner. It's like, Grandma, what's the project? Well, I thought today we would make stained glass sun catchers, or I thought we would start making ornaments for your parents' tree. Oh, cool. And so we would have this, let's say, round ball. And then I remember that I would take basically a little tiny pin, and I would pull one of the sequins up from the thing, and then I put a little dab of glue in the end, and I would just stick that into the bowl. And that would take hours to do. But it was a lot of fun, and then you'd put something on the edge, and I made, like, I don't know, maybe a dozen or more of those, and I gave those to my parents for Christmas. And so that was a gift. Now, you might say, gee, that was stupid. No, it wasn't, because you see, when you can give somebody your time, just as you know, I think it was just around Christmas, not too long ago, maybe the first or second week, I made something for my mom. I went to the store, and I actually painted some ornaments for her. And she hung them on the tree. Now, it wasn't the fact of just the ornament. It was the fact that I had to sit down and I had to spend time and do it. So when you're doing something, I know a friend of mine that did this once. He was very good at making glass. And so he actually spent, I think he spent like weeks doing this because he had to bevel the edges and he worked with like the oven. I had another friend that actually did pottery, and he just spent so much time and he was very good at it, but it took so much time. And then when he gave it to his parents, they got like, "Oh, this is beautiful." And the first question they said is, "How long did that take you to make?" "Oh, well, a few hours." They're like, "No, it didn't take you a few hours. You were in the basement like every day for like hours. How long did it really take you?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, maybe like about a couple hundred hours." And now that gift that you gave them is so much more valuable than just the fact that you made something for them. And again, when we talk about giving your gift could be knowledge, your gift could be insight, wisdom. Your gift could be taking a skill that you have and making a present. Hmm. I want to ask you all a question. How many of you out there have ever made something for your parents or your significant other, a partner, or spouse? How many? I bet not many. And if you did make something, do you remember what you made them? I remember in preschool, they told us to bring in a beer bottle, which I did, all cleaned out, like one or two beer bottles. And we took tape and we taped the beer bottle with masking tape, which took quite a while. And then after that, we painted the bottle. And then when we were all done, we peeled them off and it looked really, really nice. So when we were younger, schools really focused on art class and things like that that you could do, right? And they did this to build your creativity. I remember the first time I took art class, it was like, oh, it's like it wasn't really hard. You just had to have the right stuff and you passed, and you had to cooperate with the other students. Then it got harder when I got into, I'm going to say, I think it was maybe sixth grade. And it wasn't the same like joyful art class. It was like, okay, today we're actually going to make a picture, or today we're going to make a potholder, or today we're going to make a tree for the holidays. And so it was all about following instructions, because if you didn't do the first instruction, well, forget the second and forget the last one. And a lot of these projects would take like multiple weeks. And then you'd get graded, but you weren't graded on your skill of how nice the project. You were graded on how well you followed directions. That was pretty cool. But it was hard. And so if you have somebody that you always give gifts to, I'm not saying you to stop giving them gifts, but why don't you give them something of yourself? Make something for them. Maybe you are good at painting. You can get something at Home Depot or Lowe's and make something. Maybe you can build them a shelf. Maybe you can build them a bookend. I don't know. There's lots of things you can do. I don't know what your skills are. Maybe you're a plumber, and maybe you can make them some type of faucet. I don't know. Maybe you're a history buff. Maybe you do a tree of genealogy, right? Maybe you're an electrician, so you can give something to your parents, like, put all new lights in and surprise them. So when we give of ourselves, other people are like, wow, why didn't I think of that? And you get two reactions. One, that was really cool. That was nice of you. Oh, that's a stupid thing to do. You know why they say that? Because they're jealous that you came up with an idea. They didn't think of it first. And now you're getting more brownie points with your parents than they are. So that's kind of how that happens. So tonight, I want you to take home this one thing. Go to Michael's. Maybe go to, well, there's lots of stores you can go. You can go to Michael's. There are other craft stores like Hobby Lobby. That's another great one. So when you go to Michael's, there's all kinds of craft projects, right? craft projects. And so you can go there with a lot of pre-made stuff. You can paint things. You can do stuff with glue, construction paper. We used to have a lot of fun with construction paper. I remember one project my grandmother showed me how to do. We got all this construction paper, and then what we did was we cut the construction paper, and I still remember to this day. We took the construction paper, and I have to try to do this again because it was a lot of fun. And the way we did it, we made a paper lantern. It was really, really cool. We also took construction paper and then we made links. Pretty cool, right? And so it was just interesting, what you could do. And getting construction paper. Construction paper is not that expensive, and you can get like, I think it comes like 96 sheets with all different colors. You could do stuff with tissue paper, right? You can do stuff with getting a glue gun. You can, if you're, a lot of the girls like to string things on beads. I know when I was younger, we did this project in my summer day camp where we made lanyards. And to believe it or not, that actually was a lot of fun. You would start with the lanyard material, right? So if you probably say, John, well, how do you make a lanyard? All right, so this brings back some memories, and so you basically get what you need to make the lanyard. So usually, you'll get the different type of let's say the different types of material you need, right? So you have I call it the lanyard material, basically at summer camp, and it's a lot of fun because you're taking these things and you're basically putting them together. So when you do the lanyard, you usually do it with a couple colors. Okay, you could do it with more colors if you want, but we would usually do what they call a box or a square lanyard pattern. And I remember, you might say, gee, it's not the most glamorous thing, but it's the number one building block stitch that you need to know to get fancier later on. So you can make all kinds of great things. Once you learn how to do a box stitch, you can do all kinds of other stitches. And you can make hearts, you can make, some people made Pikachus, you can make other types of animals. But lanyards are really cool because it's something that teaches kids patience. And so when you think about a lanyard, right? Some people just do this to relieve stress. Some people, quilt. That's a gift, isn't it? When somebody quilts, that's a gift. Absolutely, that is a gift. And so, are you getting the idea about how you can apply yourself to do something? And I'm going to come up with some ideas to share with you probably in the next few days so I can show you how you can make some of your own gifts. So we got gifts that we can make. That's one type of gift. And there's lots of stuff we can do, from food to different skills that you have. There could be gifts of something you do for someone. That could be a gift. A gift could just be giving your time to someone, right? Maybe somebody's writing a book and you offer to proofread that book. Well, that's a gift to them. And a lot of people say, oh, that was nothing. No, it wasn't nothing. Maybe they wrote your song. That's a gift. And we need to be cognizant and grateful for the gifts that people give us, because they're being vulnerable when they open these gifts to us. And as somebody spent, let's say, a couple hours, I remember when we made our first lanyard. When we were in art class at summer camp, we actually went to art class, and I think it was, I'm trying to remember if it was every day. I think it was. Yeah, we had art every day. And at that time, I was sailing. And I remember because at that time, I was actually, I was finishing up my class. and I'd be getting there right when they started. So what we did in the morning is you'd line up, we'd go outside, and we'd all salute the flag because we started right at 10 o'clock. But then when I got into intermediate lessons started at 10. So that meant I could no longer make it to our Bay Beach Club by 10 o'clock. So now I was getting there like maybe 11:30, 11:45. 11, and then I was coming just in time because our art class was around 11. And I come into art class and, we'd be doing things. And sometimes we'd make stuff with glue, and the counselors were really good. But doing lanyards, that was not an easy project. But when I started to learn how it works, and I think we might do that and show you that sometime, it was just interesting to realize what you had to do and the patience and everything. I also remember we did potholder making. And if any of you remember potholders, so you basically, there's a potholder, they call it like a potholder weave, okay? And so a potholder weave, you can get them inexpensively. What they do is you basically put all the different pieces, okay, on the little plastic loom that you get. And so you get this great big bag of all these strings, and you put them down, and it was really pretty cool because you put them down, and I remember you would basically do this thing where you'd go over one, under one, 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 right? And if you decided to do two, you would do over, 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 over two. So you go over two, under two, and you keep that pattern. And you had to do a lot. Now, when you were all done, because remember, the one was done, you were only having to go one way to make the potholder. So when you were done with doing this, and I'm trying to remember how this works. So you would go over one, and you would keep going through this whole, pretty much this whole thing, and you'd make the power. Then, if I remember correctly, you actually had to turn it the other way, because you had to go the other way too. So it took some time. And then what you had to do is you had to take this. They called it a crochet. Well, it wasn't a needle. It was really like a pick. And what you had to do is you had to take the first one off and then loop the next one. Take the next one off, loop, and you had to keep going around and around and around. And for the first few years, I couldn't do that myself. And so every time I made a potholder, I always had to go to my parents. I'm like, oh, I need your help taking this off. And they would do it. But then finally I learned how to do it. And then you tie a knot at the end and you got a potholder. I also remember doing a crochet rug, and you have to pull through. So these are things you can do. These are gifts you can do at any age. Some people quilt, some people needlepoint. So there's lots of things you could do. It doesn't matter whether you're a lady, whether you're a gentleman. There are things that you could do. Maybe a gift is to take your significant other and to do dancing together, to teach them dancing, or to spend that time. See, these are gifts, and they're things that your spouses, your friends, everyone, they will treasure for a lifetime because it's you. Just like when I talked about making that thing, whether it's a plate, whether it's this thing, and it took hours. When they see it, they're like, wow, you put all that time in to make this. That's a lot of time. That's a gift. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know you've been getting a lot of value out of this. And there's my QR code for Linktree to explore lots of other stuff that I have. But what I want to share with you right now is, if you haven't commented, comment below about what is your gift. I want you to really think about what your gift is or what it could be. And then I'd like you to tag all your friends, colleagues, and associates, share it out to them on all social media. And then go to youtube.com. If you got value, type in my name, John space E space Morley space serial entrepreneur, and look for the key phrase, help keep our content free. Below that, make the choice. When you see the link to basically help keep our content free, click on that PayPal link and make the choice to buy my team and I a cup of coffee. We'll be so grateful with those pennies, those dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment to give you the most jaw-dropping motivational content. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been extreme privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this evening. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back Thursday, and I'll be back Friday to wrap up. What gift will you share with the world? So by the end of this week, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to figure out what that gift is. Just one gift. And what's a gift you could share with the world? Maybe you're going to give it away. Maybe you're going to charge for it. What is that gift that's really going to make you in demand. Have yourself a wonderful night, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone.